So in last tutorial we saw if statements. This tutorial I'm going to show you what is a for loop. So for loop goes like this. For. Same thing as an if statement, the beginning of an if statement. These two braces, curly braces, and these two squiggly braces. So in between these squiggly braces, we're going to write the code, but first we have to make a condition. So just type after me. I write for int I it's equal 0, and over here you put a semicolon. So I forgot to tell you what a semicolon. I'm sure you, if you thought into it and you're smart, you saw what a semicolon does. Basically, after every statement there is a semicolon. Basically, the compiler doesn't care. So it's another thing I wanted to say. The compiler doesn't care if everything is written. The whole program that you wrote is written on one line. You could write for int I is equal 0. You could write basically the whole program on one line. So why wouldn't anybody write the whole program online? Basically because it's a mess and it's not human readable. I wouldn't be able to read it. No one else would be able to read it, and that's not what programmers want to see. Other programmers want to see your code is written neat, it's written nice, and that's why everything's written nicely. You put the, it should be human readable, very nice, like this. It's easy to read. So let me just take this away. So for int I is equal 0. Now I'm going to go I is less than 10, semicolon, I plus plus. So you have three statements here. Int I is equal 0. And then you have I is less than 10. And then you have I plus plus. So I didn't tell you what I plus plus does. I didn't show you what's the less than statement. I should have showed it to you. But if you don't know these stuff, or it's confusing to you to teach yourself in this tutorial, just please send me an email. I would make specially tutorials what I plus plus does, what I is less than 10, what I equals 0, but I'll try to explain it as good as possible what it does in this tutorial. So let's start. So I'm gonna write, so basically what this does is I'm setting I to 0. It's basically like I'm writing I is equals 0, and it's like I'm making a variable I, I'm assigning it to be 0. Now I'm essentially saying that if I'm doing a statement here, if I is less than 10, then increment I by 1. So basically, if I is less than 10, then basically print out everything what's in between these lines and set I to 1. So what I'm going to do is like this. I'm going to write console write I'm going to make it right line, not right line, and okay. Yeah, I got some messages here. What's going on? You see, I don't even know how to type that read line. It's so confusing, uppercase, lowercase. So what I always usually do is I always backspace and I press the dot. Now when you press the dot here, it's just a little trick. You press the up arrow or the down arrow, you see a lot of junk here. Yeah, these are called methods. I'm not going to go into that, what a method means. Just going to confuse you. Console.writeLine. Console.readLine. So now you're asking me, why am I putting console.readLine out of the for loop? Hey, why did I write this? This is silly. So let me put a semicolon that I'm finishing. Okay. So basically what this read line does, it's basically keeping the console open. If I wouldn't write that read line, console.readLine, if you have written console.writeLine without that read, this basically keeps the console open. It waits for user input. So basically it's a trick of keeping the console open. But it's also used for user input. I'll show you soon. So now I'm going to write console.write. Hey, why is this a local or parameterized I cannot be declared in scope because the name is used in an enclosed local initial. Oh, it's basically telling me I assigned it already. Huh. So, yeah, it's basically telling me you can't use I because I is used already before. You can't use the same name. You gotta use something else. So what you could do is you could write X and it's gonna let me do it. But I want to write I and I want to delete this. So I'm basically essentially saying if int I is equals 0, I is less than 10, and I plus plus. Okay, so I console.writeLine, and I'm gonna print hello. I'm not gonna print hello. I'm gonna make a string here called hello. Even better, string. You can do the same thing. It's the same thing. String h is equals hello, and I'm gonna write here h. So it's basically gonna do. It's gonna write h. It's gonna write hello 10 times. So now it says here hello, 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 hello. Now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now why did I write hello 10 times? So basically what this is doing is it's going like this. I'm going to use a small tool called a debugger. It's going to be very interesting to see. I'm going to press on F11 just to show you. You don't have to use it. It's a little more advanced tool. So I'm going to press F11. So now I'm basically showing you the code in slow motion. So it's going to go to string. It's taking string h. It's equalsing it to hello. So h is now hello. And now it's pointing on this and it's showing I is equals 0. The folder I has 0 in it. And press on F11 again. And now what it's doing is it's asking, is this variable I equals 0? And the answer is yes, because it says I is 0. And it's asking, is I, this is the less than operator, is I less than 10? And look what it says here, true. You see? I is less than 10, true. I is less than 10. Why? Because I is equals 0. Now I'm going to press F12 again, F11 again, and it's going to print H. It's going to print H, it's going to print hello. Why? Because whatever this thing is true, it's going to do what it's inside there. And now I'm going to press 11, 11. Now it's going over here. It's basically saying I plus plus. Take I and make it to 1. I is 0, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to make I plus plus. I'm going to add 1 to I. And now it's going to this condition, and it's asking, is I equals 10? Is I less than 10? And the answer is true. I is now equals 1. So this I is equals 1. Why? Because I did I plus plus before, and I made I equals to 1. So I'm going to press F11 again, and it's going to print out hello. Press F11 again, press F11 again, and it's basically taking I plus plus, it's putting 1. It's basically saying I is equals to I plus 1. So it's basically the same thing as writing, I have int I is equals, I'm going to make a different variable. I'm going to write x, shouldn't interfere with this. Int x equals 0. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to write x, basically saying default x, what holds 0, is equals to x plus 1. So basically what it's doing, this statement, let me just show you. This statement would return to you, x would be now a 1. Why would x be a 1? So basically saying, you see this x, just leave it alone. It's basically going first to this. It's going to say, what is x plus 1? So it's basically asking, what is 0 plus 1? You remember when I said that the computer looks first? If it's a regular number, it would just take it and throw it in. But if it's you have done math over here, let's say 7 plus 7, it's going to take 7 plus 7, and it's going to make 14, and then it's going to take 14 and shove it into x. Now, it's doing the same thing. X plus 1. It's basically saying, okay, it's not looking at this. It's basically, when I'm clicking on x, it's not looking at this x. It's looking, let me make it a different variable, you shouldn't get confused. I'll call this a variable y. So basically I have a variable, I can't use y, so I gotta write this. Yeah, so basically what I'm doing is, I'm saying, okay, what is 0 plus 1? What is x? What is x? X is equal 0. So what is 0 plus 1? And the answer is 2. 0 plus 1, oh my god. Answer is 0 plus 1, my head is not working. The answer is 0 plus 1 is equals 1. So, and now if x would be 5, I would go x plus 1. So 5 plus 1 is equal 6, and then take 6 and shove it into y. So y is going to hold 6. So there you got it. And yeah, so, but I could do the same thing. I could go x. Okay, I'll just show you in here. So basically, show you again. Let me show it to you with I'll show you like this. Int x equals 0, and I could go x is equals, it's basically as writing the same as I, it's the same thing as writing y or writing any other variable, but I'll write x is equals x plus 1. So I'm basically saying 0 plus 1 is equals 1. So I'm basically saying 1 is equals to x. Or if x would be 2, I'm basically saying 2 plus 1 and 2 plus 1 is equals 3 and x is equals to 3. Now if you make it y, if you make it to y, if you make it to y, it's basically going to be a different variable called y, and x will never increment to 3. So in order to make the same variable to increment to 3, I'm going to write x is equals to x plus 1. So in a shorthand of writing x plus 1 is just writing x plus plus. So if I write x plus plus, it's basically saying, okay, how much is x? X is 2. Okay, add 1 to x and equals it to x. So now x is going to go up a number, it's going to go to 3. Okay, so let me show you over here. So here is basically saying I is equals to 0. It's creating a variable I in a shorthand. It's basically saying, okay, I is equals to 0. And if I is less than 10, then do whatever here. Once that I printed this statement, after finished, it jumps to this, and it basically equals I plus plus. It's basically saying 0I add. Basically, it tells you add 1 to I, and I becomes 1, and then I is going to become 2, and then I is going to become 3, and then I is going to become 4. And everything until I becomes 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Until I becomes 10. Once I reaches 10, it's going to say, okay, the 10th time it's going to become 10, right? So it's going to print out this again, again. This is going to increment. It's going to say, okay, is I less than 10? And it's going to be false. It's going to mean no, I is not less than 10. I is not less than 10, and print out nothing. Basically, don't stop printing it out and jump out of this in between here and here and jump to the next piece of code. So if this was confusing to you, I'm going to show you a thing called while statements and do while statements. That's a little easier. I should have shown that before, or maybe I'm going to make a next tutorial after this. I'm posting it on YouTube before this, so I'll try to see what I can do. If this was very confusing for you, it might be for new beginners very confusing, but if this was very confusing to you, please send me an email. I'll try to clear it up and make my tutorials better. If I don't get any responses or any emails or anything, I definitely will not change it, because I want to make sure that people like it, see it, and yeah. Okay, so if you like this video, please subscribe.